So now we got the Ole Miss football coach on. First year at Ole Miss. He's going to chop it up with recruiting. You know he's going to do well. So we didn't bump you today. Maybe if you didn't bump me, I wouldn't bump you later. Ever thought about that?
Yeah, I'm like Mr. Irrelevant to you. Yeah, but that's that SC bias that you have. I never was bumped when I was at SC with you. That was always your first choice.
That is funny.
Now I'm just down there in the SEC, so I got to go on Feinbaum. Can't get you anymore.
Well, you know what? You're gonna crush it there. I will say this about the SEC, and I've said this for years. I think it's important for the Pac-10 to be relevant, Lane, because when USC played Texas, it got a 22 national rating. When Alabama plays Clemson, it's a 16. The SEC is good, but I do worry about the West Coast kind of disappearing. And you know the West Coast. Is it possible, Lane, people in the South just frankly care more about college football?
Well, I think that's proven, with attendance and, look at spring games, 60 to 80,000 people coming to spring games. So that's always kind of been the issue, but that's LA. You got to win, and you got to win with style here, or else they're not coming because there's so much to do different in the South. So there's good and bad to both. But, college football is best when USC's rolling, and so, there's only a few programs that can actually match the SEC, the Alabamas and Auburns and LSU. And obviously USC is one of those. And when those great runs were happening and Coach Carroll's 34 straight, 3 Heisman winners, I think, in 4 years, that was obviously special, not just for USC, but for the whole country.
Yeah. How do you recruit against Nick Saban and LSU and these kind of Georgia now is rolling? How does Ole Miss recruit against them? What's your sales pitch?
Well, the SEC is the strongest it's ever been. Being in there, at Tennessee and whatever, however many years ago that was, it was strong. But I mean, just the draft. I mean, look at the draft, and you got to go play. You go play Alabama. They got 4 offensive players in the first 15 picks of the draft. I called Sark. I said, your son could have called plays last year with that roster. I mean, geez. So, but to recruit against them, it's just like when we went to Tennessee. You've got to come in and say, okay, hey, we're starting something new, and so do you want to come in at the front of something? Probably play a lot more as a freshman than if you go to those programs and start something special versus just coming to something that's already on top or on the way down.
Compare Lane Kiffin today with the 2009 Tennessee Volunteer Lane Kiffin. Where are you better?
So many areas, and I think everybody should be better than they were in 2009. But I think just being the CEO and handling everything in the program, I was so offensive driven and basically the head coach, but calling the plays on offense and then delegating everything everywhere else, and then I went to Nick Saban and saw a different way, because Coach Carroll was kind of like that. He was calling the defense, and then you went to Coach Saban. He wasn't calling anything, but he was the CEO of everything. And I really took a lot from that to see the accountability of everybody in the program, when the head coach is everywhere.
What did Saban and Pete, they're really different guys, but there's probably some similarities. What did they have in common to you? What was a common thread with Saban and Carroll?
They had their philosophies nailed, and they were completely different, basically nothing the same in any area about how to run a program, but they had it nailed. And also that was experience too. That was Coach Saban's, 4th or 5th head job, and Coach Carroll's 3rd head job. And so, they'd say, especially Coach Carroll, say, hey, I've learned a lot through that process to get to where I am now, to have these things. So when I look back at working for both those guys, when something came up, they already knew their answer. This is how I'm going to deal with this player issue. This is how I'm going to deal with this area and, down in the weight room, whatever it is. And part of that is that they're amazing and extremely smart, and part of that is experience.
What was Pete Carroll's philosophy?
I would say the best way to describe it was, we were going to win, but we were going to have fun doing it. And, we were going to treat you like professionals, and so it was different. It was, it was fun, and everyone enjoyed it, and he made it that way. He made it that the players and coaches wanted to come to work. He'd always say, create want to versus have to. When your coaches are driving in, your players are coming to work out at 6 a.m., do they feel like they have to, and it's miserable, and they're just going to get yelled at when they get there, and no one really wants to be there, they're just going to sit at their desk, or is it a fun environment that they're excited. They're getting to work early in the morning. The coaches are too because they want to be there. And when you create that environment, you'd always say, it's a lot more successful because everyone's excited to be there versus just, looking at the clock.
Now, Nick's a little more intense, but there had to be some fun in Alabama's program, right?
Yeah, like 14 times a year, 14 days a year. when we had way better players than everyone else we lined up against, that was fun.
Yeah, that is a good point.
That's not a shot on Coach Saban. He'd say the same thing. I've seen someone ask him about fun. What's that? Fun's holding up a trophy, handing it to the next person, and say, "All right, let's go win another one." The fun part doesn't exist in his mind, which it works. Both ways work.
Yeah. By the way, in the NFL, 20 games you coach, 5-15. College record is excellent. You've won twice as many games as you've lost, and that's rebuilding Tennessee, and that's rebuilding FAU. Go back now, because you got some young coaches in the NFL. You got your Sean McVays and your Shanahans, Matt LaFleur. You've done both. What is the primary difference, college to pro, as a coach? Is it the billionaire owner?
It's the owner, but it's also the players. I mean, you're talking about, grown men with families, and they understand this is a job. I lose this job and not making any money. We're talking about young kids, 18-year-old kids coming in, and so they're very different. I like college more because I always say in college the kids chose where to go, so they're more passionate about the program. I choose to go to Ole Miss. I choose to go to USC. So I've been a fan, of it, and I wanted it to do really well. I'm more invested versus this team picked me or this team signed me in free agency, and I'll be with another team, 4 years down the road. So I just always thought it was different. The NFL, you say you can go in an NFL locker room 30 minutes after a game, and you're not really sure who won or who lost. When you go to the locker room, because it's a business. It's just on to the next one. College, you can definitely tell. It's just the investment, in my opinion.
The
business.
Yeah. The NCAA has got a new ruling where players can be compensated for name and image. And, it's just the reality of the life we live in. Where do you kind of land on that stuff?
I mean, I think it's great for them. It's well-deserved. And, go back to the great players of, all those years. And, the 3 Heismans at USC, and those guys are getting nothing out of it. And, go there and here's Derrick Henry, and, they're, scraping by just to get money to eat. But I just don't know how it's going to be managed. I mean, you're opening up a can of worms. I mean, how can you manage donors that, hey, if you come to this school, the day you get here, I'm going to buy 1,000 of your jerseys for $100. I mean, I don't understand how all that's going to get managed. And that part scares me a lot.
Yeah. By the way, I've asked Brian Kelly this and Mac Brown this. Lane, if you had to, what's the latest? How many weeks of practice do you need before your first game, I guess is my question with the virus. How many weeks of practice?
Well, selfishly, we need a lot because we're a first-year staff. This has killed first-year staffs because you don't know anything about your players. You missed all of spring ball with them. That's so critical, all those meetings, all those practices. So the first-year programs, this is, a lot harder. You take an Alabama or something, well, those players already know the system. They've coached those players. It's not that big a deal. It's more like the NFL. The NFL doesn't have it. They got, OTA days that some people don't ever show up for all off season, and they're fine. Now they have preseason games. But, I think everybody wants, at least 30 extra days, an extra month. Obviously you got August, but have July too. But at the same time, even though this would hurt us as a first-year program, if you only get training camp, you only get training camp. It is what it would be the same for everyone. So you would just manage how you practice better, and you just, start with shorter practices and build up. So as long as it's the same for everybody, I think we all want to play this thing on time. This discussion I've read this morning about, in the spring, I mean, that might be good for us because Alabama, LSU, all those first-rounders that you see picked, they ain't going to play. If you're a first-rounder, are you really going to play a season of football right before the NFL draft? Yeah. I don't think so.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It might be good for us.
Yeah. It's interesting, Lane? You have done something that is very difficult to do, and most politicians can't do it. You've reinvented yourself. You had the USC situation, Tennessee, and there was like an image. And it was, I don't know about Lane Kiffin. Then you go to FAU. You turn it around. You win Coach of the Year a couple times. And you go to Alabama. And now you get the Ole Miss job, which is, frankly, it's an SEC multi-million-dollar-a-year job. It's a very coveted job. It's a very good college football job. So let's go back to when people were crapping on you. And how hard was it for Lane Kiffin, the guy, when you're getting a lot of bad coverage? Were there nights where you thought to yourself, I'm never going to get to where I think I was headed? I'm not going to get there. Were there sad nights?
Yeah. The thing that bothered me the most was it wasn't, you weren't graded on a fair scale. Everybody said, okay, USC and whatever, 28-15 or something like that. Like, I mean, it ain't like we're 1-10 or something like that. And so it was I just felt it was unfair because we had 30 less scholarships. I mean, the whole deal.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, when it hits, all your juniors and seniors can leave. They all can leave. So you got to recruit them. Then you got to sign a number one recruiting class in the country, which we did, with kids knowing they're not going to play in a bowl game for 2 years. And then lose 30 scholarships. And those 30 players, they go to the other Pac-12 teams. So that's the part that bothered me the most was just, okay, hey, this guy can't coach. But everyone forgot about that.
Yeah. It was tough. Well, you reinvented yourself. Where were you the minute, I think Jimmy Sexton's your agent, the minute you heard you're getting an SEC head coaching job again? Where were you?
Well, I was in FAU, and it actually had multiple SEC jobs, but just really, and I was really enjoying FAU. I know everybody say, "Oh, you're just going to leave to leave," like most coaches would to go to the SEC. I just really thought Ole Miss was a special place, and I'd been on the other side to see it. At Alabama, in 3 years with Coach Saban, we lost 2 regular season games. That's it, and they were both to Ole Miss. And so I was down there on the other sideline. When Katy Perry's there, for game day and the place is rocking, so, 5 years ago, they were in the Sugar Bowl. We're not talking about a program that hasn't won for 20 years or something. So I was excited about it.
Yeah. Where are you at today? Where are you right now? Did we lose him? Oh, there we go. Can you hear me? I think he's driving around Southern California. Oh. Are you there? Can you hear me? I'm going to get him. I want to ask him one more question. I want to ask him where he is. I got Lane Kiffin. We're going to hunt him down. We're trying to. I think he's in Southern California. His phone just dropped. The virus. Yeah. Oh, there we go. There he called right there. I want to put him back on. I'm waiting for him. Joy's got the news. I'll get to that in 1 minute. I want to get a couple more questions in with him. Do we have him now? There we go. I got him again. So, but before you go, my last question was going to be, where are you right now this second?
I am right up the street from you in Manhattan Beach. Did you see the electric blue waves last night?
No, I didn't, but I heard people were sneaking down to the beach. Explain that to the audience.
You got to go see it. It's crazy. I guess it's plankton, which is why you see it's kind of like brown and red during the day, and then at night they give out this like blue light to defend themselves, and it's crazy. You're really looking at waves at electric blue light.
It is crazy. All right, Laner. By the way, Lane's a heck of a fisherman, so I know he loves the beach. So I'm not making any attempts to allure him to USC eventually. I'm just saying he likes the beach. He's got, kids, place, stuff here in Manhattan Beach. All right, bud, when do you head back to Ole Miss, Oxford, and the South?
As soon as they let us work. We're not allowed to go into the offices like most people yet. So, I've heard it's been thrown out. They're shooting for 2 weeks from now. So, ready to get back there, get this thing started.
Why don't you schedule an out-of-conference game on the West Coast? You guys played Cal a couple years ago. Are you going to come out here so people can see you?
Those things are done so far in advance, Colin. Like they're already 6 years out and things like that. But yeah. I know they have done that before, like you mentioned, Cal and stuff. So I told them, let's schedule USC. Let's go.
I like it. Good talking to you.
All right, guys. Have a good week.